component of the directive principle of state policy is the Gandhian principle. So, various articles were incorporated into the constitution to keep alive the Gandhian principles. Mahatma Gandhi, a father of our nation, he was the torch bearer, or he had great ideals and vision about the country. And because of the acumen of Mahatma Gandhi and his policies and the way he led the whole movement in a very accommodative spirit, and he knew when to start a movement and when to stop the movement, and most importantly, he continued right from the beginning the non-violent principle. He never wanted the freedom fighters to take up arms, and he never wanted bloodshed. Even when the partition was to be there, when Mahatma Gandhi was the last to agree for the partition, and he agreed for partition not because he believed in the two-nation theory propounded by the Muslim League. He agreed only because he wanted to prevent the bloodshed and innocent lives should not be killed. So, his ideals and principles, ultimately he had to sacrifice his life, and unfortunately he was killed by a Hindu fanatic. Why? Because Mahatma Gandhi was advocating a life of togetherness, advocating that both Hindus and Muslims should stay together. We should not fight each other. We are nothing. We have everything in common and nothing, not so much of different, except in the religious belief. Everything else we are same. We have the same problems. We have the same society, the same behavior, an Indian behavior. That is what Mahatma Gandhi was insisting right from. So, to keep alive his ideals, especially after his death, after his martyrdom, we wanted, or the freedom fighters or the constitution makers wanted to keep alive his ideals and philosophy through these directive principles. So, there were many articles incorporated into the directive principles which can be termed as the Gandhian principles. Gandhian principles, and first among them is Article 40. Organization of village panchayats. Organization of village panchayats. The state shall take steps to organize village panchayats and endow them with such power and authority as may be necessary to enable them to function as units of self-government. So, organized village panchayats should act as the units of self-government, units of, and subsequently, this is one of the fundamental rights, one of the directive principles we have implemented properly. You know very well the 73rd and the 74th Amendment Act, where the organizing the village panchayat and then the Nagarpalikas. Of course, Mahatma Gandhi specifically, he was talking about the villages, because at the time during the freedom struggle and during that time, most of the people are living in the villages. So, that is why the organizing the village panchayats. And he talked, and we have implemented most of this, and one of the, especially in some of the states where there is grassroots democracy, the panchayats are very well organized. The village panchayat system is very well organized, and there is real devolution of power, and self-government is working very well. So, Article 40, organization of village panchayat, definitely the Gandhian principle, we can say, a stamp of the Gandhian principle is visible here. Then, Article 46, very important. That is where another area where the Gandhian principle was is very much visible. Article 46. Article 46, promotion of educational and economic interests of the scheduled caste. Promotion of educational and economic interests of scheduled castes, scheduled tribes and other weaker sections. Please remember, with this weaker section is clearly mentioned in Article 46 and other weaker section. So, when you look at, when you read it together, the promotion of educational and economic interests of scheduled castes, scheduled tribes and other weaker section. So that it is in one flow. If you read, you will understand the people similarly placed, the economic and education interests of scheduled castes, scheduled tribes and other people who are similarly placed. But the economic weaker section which we have added for the general category, for the upper caste, and the government is arguing that this is to implement Article 46, they are doing the 10% reservation for the economically weaker section. But if you read this article carefully, you can understand this Article 46 is not talking about the economically poorer people among the upper caste. They are talking about the economic, educational and economic interests of scheduled castes, scheduled tribes and other similarly placed people. So that is what Article 46 is saying, but now just for your information, when the 10% economically weaker section reservation for 10% reservation for the general category people were introduced, the government's argument was that this is to fulfill Article 46 of the Indian Constitution. But I have a serious doubt, and if you read the article properly, it says, very clearly says, the state shall promote with special care the education and economic interests of the weaker section of the people and in particular of the scheduled caste and the scheduled tribes, and shall protect them from social injustice and in all forms of exploitation. Article 46 is clearly asking the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes should be protected, from social injustice. The upper caste, the general category people are not undergoing any social injustice and they are not getting exploited. They are protected from social injustice. So social injustice is mentioned in Article 46 and also from all forms of exploitation. So the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes should be protected from social injustice and from all forms of exploitation. So that weaker section word is mentioned in Article 46, but that weaker section is about people similarly placed like scheduled castes and scheduled tribes, and the focus is definitely on the social inequality and the social injustice and exploitation. So when it was added that 10% reservation for the economically weaker among the forward caste, when it is added, if the government is saying that it is to fulfill Article 46, the critics and I am strongly feeling that this is the wrong article to be quoted to give 10% reservation for the forward community. Those who are economically weak, I fully agree. But our aim of Article 46 is not about that economic weakness. We are weaker section who are exploited, who are facing social injustice, social exclusion. That is what Article 46 is talking. So anyway, so Article 46 clearly talks about promotion of education and economic interests of scheduled caste, scheduled tribe and other weaker section, but that is what is being used by the government to promote or provide the 10% reservation for the economic weaker section among the forward community. Coming to Article 47. Article 47, again a Gandhian principle, 46, now 47. It says duty of the state to raise the level of nutrition, and the standard of living and to improve public health. Level of nutrition and the standard of living and to improve public health. So here the state shall regard the raising of the level of nutrition and the standard of living of the people and the improvement of the public health as having the primary duty. So it is the duty of the state to raise the level of nutrition, standard of living and to improve public health. Okay. So very clearly mentioned, and also the state shall endeavor to bring about prohibition of the consumption of intoxicating drinks. Article 47 also says state shall endeavor okay, state shall endeavor to bring about prohibition of the consumption of intoxicating drinks. Prohibition of the consumption of intoxicating drinks and of drugs which are injurious to health. Drinks and drugs which are injurious to health. So, Article 47 talks about raise the nutrition of the people, level of nutrition, standard of living of the people, improve public health and endeavor to bring prohibition. This is a specifically Gandhian idea or Gandhian belief. But please understand, today almost every state government is surviving because of the liquor sale. And wherever this liquor sale is banned, you know, so much of problem and so much of bootlegging, so much of mafia, sale everywhere. This is a big mess in our country. And even countries like US, they have all tried to prevent sale of, to stop or rather ban alcohol sale, and they all failed everywhere. Prohibition of sale of alcoholic drinks have failed everywhere. It will be almost impossible to do that. Then the local, they will be making locally, then the huge tragedies and so many things. Of course, Mahatma Gandhi's idea, his idea was that people's health should be protected and people should not get addicted to drinks, and the country can be saved from all these things. That is the idea behind the whole thing. But today, I don't think Article 47, and wherever we tried, it has not succeeded. Wherever we banned the consumption of the drinking and the sale of alcoholic drinks, and so much of black marketing there, so much of confusion. Most of the police work is related to this, control and prevention of the sale of the liquor. And it is high time for us to think about what to do with. And many of the states in our country, their main income right now is the excise duty charged from the alcoholic drinks. Even after Corona, for example, Delhi, immediately after the Corona lockdown was over, Delhi government increased the excise duty on liquor by 70%, Corona tax, only to ensure that the government's income can be increased. So whenever the government needs money, they are imposing additional tax on liquor and take more money. And on the other side, we are saying the state shall endeavor to bring about prohibition to the consumption. The idea is good. See, this prohibition of liquor can be there. It can happen if you have to reduce the only through awareness campaign. Like we are doing a lot of awareness campaign against smoking and the cancer and related to that. So people are willing to reduce, or people are reducing because of the awareness campaign. And here also in liquor sale also, it should be through awareness. I don't think it can be done through that 100% forceful banning. The banning will lead to illegal trade, black marketing, huge tragedies and this and that. So it is this is a very I'll say policy makers are confused about what to do with this Article 47, and definitely it is not getting implemented in most parts of the country. Then Article 48, another Gandhian principle, organization of agriculture and animal husbandry. Agriculture and animal husbandry. Organize agriculture and animal husbandry. The state shall endeavor to organize agriculture and animal husbandry on modern and scientific lines. So the first statement is the state shall provide or endeavor to organize agriculture and animal husbandry on modern and scientific lines. So state shall endeavor to organize agriculture and animal husbandry on modern and scientific lines. And the second part is very important, and shall take steps to preserve and improve the breed, scientific lines, and shall take steps to preserve and improve the breed and improve the breed. And so it is one side is talking about preserve and improve the breed, and also it says the second, maybe another part we can say, and prohibiting slaughter of cows, calves and other milch and the draught cattle. It also talk about prohibit slaughter of cows, calves and other milch and draught cattle and other milch and draught cattle. So, this prohibition of slaughter prohibits slaughter of cows, calves and other milch and draught cattle. Now, this is very interesting, and one side we are saying agriculture and animal husbandry should be promoted on modern and scientific lines and shall take steps to preserve and improve the breed of this cattle. It also prohibit the slaughter of cows and calves and other milch and the draught cattle. Now, the first point I would like to, now the cow slaughter issue in our country, especially there are so many communities in our country, they consume beef. See, we have, just to have an idea, let me just tell you, Muslims, see, when almost 13.4% of the society, then scheduled tribe, 7.5% of the society, scheduled caste, say 15% of the society, then Christians, 2% of the society. So, if you add all these things, most of these communities, the minorities, especially the Muslims, the Christians, then most of the scheduled tribes and scheduled castes, they consume beef, most of them. See, almost if you add these things, it is almost coming to almost 40%, but even if we reduce from there, what we can safely conclude is at least, let me put it this way, at least 25% of the people of the population of India consume beef. It is a very conservative estimate I am talking. Now, this issue of cow slaughter came because it is a sentimental issue for the Hindu community, the majority community and the Hindu community we can say, but among the Hindus also there are so many communities who consume beef. If you consider all the scheduled castes, even scheduled tribe, most of them are Hindus, but there are so many places, even say take the case of Kerala for example, forget about scheduled caste, even the warrior class, the upper class, majority of the Hindu community in Kerala, when I say majority, don't take it physically, I am 100% sure the majority consume beef. It is a part of the culture of Kerala. And there are so many states, even in Goa, a substantial portion of the people consume beef. Most of the northeastern states, they consume beef. So, and the Muslim community, it is a known fact for many hundreds of years in our country that they are in India and they consume beef. But yes, this issue of Hindu sentiments were there. So, in the Constituent Assembly, when this issue of prohibiting the slaughter or this, when it came to the issue of cow slaughter, many members wanted the ban of cow slaughter in India because it hurts the sentiments of the Hindu community. Ambedkar, Nehru and all, they argued that this cannot be based on a religious practice. Only based on religion we will not be able to add this into the constitution because India is a secular state. So, then there are issues related to the Muslim sentiment also will come, the Christian sentiment also will come. So, only on the basis of religious sentiments we cannot ban the cow slaughter. So, when the debate came, healthy debate took place, many people were very emotional about the whole thing. Naturally, Those who believe, those who believe that there should not be any cow slaughter, they are emotional about the whole thing. Absolutely no doubt regarding this. Finally, a compromise formula was worked out. And you please see Article 48. This Article 48 is an economic article. It is not a religious article. You please see that. Agriculture and animal husbandry. And in that also, what are we writing in Article 48? It is saying the state should promote organized agriculture, animal husbandry in modern scientific line, and promote and preserve and improve the breed of the cattle. And in that, as an adjunct, as an economic, prohibit the slaughter of what kind of cows? Cows and calves and other milch and the draught cattle, those who are economically viable or economically useful. Draught cattle, meaning for the ploughing and all. Milch cattle, where the milking of the cow is going on, where it is providing us with milk. So, prohibition of the slaughter, the way it is written down, it is not written down in such a way that as a compromise formula it came. It is written as an economic angle. To protect the economic interest of the people, you prohibit slaughter of the cows. That means it is not talking, Article 48 is not talking about the ban on cow slaughter. It is saying milch cattle, the draught cattle which are economically useful, the calves, the smaller ones, they will grow up and they should not be slaughtered. So, even Article 48 is not talking about slaughter ban on the entire cattle population. Economically viable one, that is number one. Number two, first, the way it has been introduced, it has not been introduced as a religious issue. It has been introduced as an economic angle, or to protect the economic interest of the people. So, the cow slaughter ban which is mentioned in Article 48 is not based on the Hindu sentiments. It is based on the economic interest. That is how, being a secular country, we incorporated this provision. See, that is the beauty of our country. We added this to help and to protect the sentiments of the Hindu community. But at the same time, we wanted to ensure that our secular character is not lost. So, when many state governments these days, especially the BJP ruled states, when they are implementing this cow slaughter ban with full vigor and energy, they are also quoting Article 48. They are also saying, to implement Article 48, we are banning cow slaughter ban in our state. Haryana has, I think, put 10-year rigorous imprisonment, a 5 or 6 year rigorous imprisonment for cow slaughter. You can kill a human being, you may get a lesser punishment. But if you kill a cattle, you will get a bigger punishment. That is the kind of situation we have created. But when they say that we are here to implement Article 48, then if you understand the meaning of Article 48, this Article 48 was not introduced in the Constitution as to protect the Hindu sentiment. It is not based on any religious belief and the religious tradition. Article 48 is created. Article 48 is protection of agriculture or organizing agriculture and animal husbandry in modern scientific lines. And in the process, we mentioned that any economically viable cattle should not be slaughtered, whether it is milch cattle, whether it is draught cattle. That means the old age cows and draught cattle can be slaughtered. That is the indirect meaning of Article 48 anyway. And moreover, India is a multicultural society. We have to respect, if somebody don't want to eat beef, they should not eat beef, and we should not be encouraging, or we should not create any trouble for them. But at the same time, only because I don't like this, others also should not do. That should not be the spirit in a multicultural society. So that is why cow slaughter is not banned in Kerala. Cow slaughter is not banned in most of the northeastern states. And it is not cow slaughter is not banned in West Bengal. Even now, cow slaughter is not banned in West Bengal. It is not banned in Kerala, but some states, only economically viable cattle should not be slaughtered. It is very clear, Karnataka and all. But there are states like Maharashtra now, even possessing beef. Even if you have purchased beef from another state, from Goa, there is no cow slaughter ban. If you are possessing beef at your home, even that can be a punishable offence in Maharashtra. Similarly, in Haryana. It has been said that if you possess beef also, you can be punished. So these are, all these states are claiming that it is to protect and implement Article 48, but in reality Article 48 is not talking about possessing beef or anything. It is only talking about prohibiting the slaughter of cows and calves and other economically viable cattle. That means the uneconomic or the old age ones. See, it's a part of, see, now what will you do with this cattle also? Nowadays, when they are strictly implemented in most parts of the North India, what is happening? The farmers are letting loose this cattle to roam around in the streets, and they are invading the field, because the old cattle are the male cattle, the bulls, they are all left alone to the streets. They are sent to the streets. They are not killing, but they are not even taking care of this cattle, the old age cattle. They are those who stopped milking or rather giving milk. These cattle, these cows and these draught cattle who are not economically useful, they are not used in the plowing in the field. They are all left to the main road, and these cattle are moving around. They are freely entering the fields of the farmers, destroying the standing crops. It's a big tragedy happening. And in the process, the viability of animal husbandry is becoming a big problem. And in many parts of the country, more and more people are switching over to buffaloes. Why? Because buffaloes can be slaughtered, and there is consumption of buffalo meat in India by the same communities, whether it is Muslim tribes, in scheduled castes, Christians, So the buffalo meat is served. So because of that, more and more farmers are finding it economically viable to rear a buffalo rather than a cow. So this is another thing you should understand. Even though banning cow slaughter, do you think more and more farmers will keep, they will rear cows? No. They may even give up the cows because they cannot sell this after the economic use of this cow. See, for meat, when they sell, they still get 20,000, 30,000 rupees per cattle. But now they cannot, because there is no market for that. So buffaloes can be sold like that. So that is why more and more farmers are interested in rearing buffaloes rather than cows. The percentage of cow to buffalo ratio, if you look, the cow percentage is going down in North India, and buffalo percentage is increasing, because there is farmers ultimately get some value, some money at the end of when these cows, when these buffaloes reach the older age. So anyway, that is about Article 48 and the issue of cow slaughter ban. Please understand, 48 has no basis. Article 48 is nothing to do with our religious sentiments. It is only about the economic issue. That is what is mentioned in Article 48. So coming to the Gandhian principles, these are the Gandhian principles. Gandhian principles are Article 40, no doubt, organizing village panchayat. Then 46, promotion of educational and economic interest of scheduled caste, weaker section, scheduled tribe, etc. Then duty of the state to provide, to raise the level of nutrition and standard of living, and that is 47, and banning or prohibition of consumption of liquor, and 48, organizing agriculture and animal husbandry, and in the process it also mentioned about prohibiting the slaughter of cows, calves and other milch and the draught cattle. So 4 articles are specifically, we can say, Gandhian principles. And 47 and 48 I already said the issues. Even 46, the government economically weaker section, 10% reservation quota, when they introduced, government said we are implementing Article 46, but Article 46 is not talking about that. Cow slaughter ban we implemented by many BJP ruled states with great energy and vigor, but Article 48 is not talking about the religious sentiments. Okay, 47, banning or rather reducing or rather, we are talking about prohibition of consumption of intoxicating drinks. That is the aim, that is the goal of 47, but unfortunately most of the state governments are surviving because of the sale of liquor. Their main income is sale of liquor. So this is a paradox of the Gandhian principles. So that's all about Gandhian principles in the directive principles of state policy.